Let me see what we got here. I have 58 questions. I don't think I'm going to be able to answer all of them. Let me know when you're ready, Scott. You're good? Okay, can I hit the timer? Okay. For women with a family history of autoimmune disease planning to conceive, do you recommend antibody testing first? Is it possible for a pregnant woman to transfer autoimmune antibodies to her fetus? Okay. For a woman with a family history of autoimmune disease, okay. So we're actually having an entire module on infertility and maternal health, where we're going to talk about prenatal care, and it's pretty thorough. Part of it is autoimmune management, and we do know there's definitely risk for things like autism spectrum disorder with moms that have autoimmunity, and that there is some immune dysregulation. And I shared with you a paper, and it's one of many papers that show the same thing, that that maternal fetal brain antibodies do show up with many kids that didn't develop autism spectrum disorder. So it shouldn't say that, I mean, if a person has autoimmunity, it doesn't mean they can't have a very healthy delivery and have a kid that doesn't have any clinical patterns of autism or neurodevelopmental issues. It's just a risk factor. So if a person is suffering from autoimmunity and they want to have children, and they're able, fertility is not an issue with them, you just want to make sure they're following a very strict autoimmune protocol throughout their pregnancy. They're eating lots of diverse vegetables. They don't become the person who's pregnant goes, well, I just want Rocky Road ice cream no matter what, and like give in. That doesn't, not a good idea. You don't want to activate and flare up the autoimmune response during it because of a craving. You really want to stick to really supporting the immune system. And during pregnancies, some autoimmunities calm down and some autoimmunities flare up. And those are all factors. So we don't know all the variables there, but it is a key issue. Is it possible for a pregnant woman to transfer autoimmune antibodies to her fetus? I'm not exactly sure about that. I'm not sure what the specific mechanisms are. All I know is there are increased risk factors for general neurodevelopmental autoimmunities at this point with people with moms that have autoimmunity. It doesn't mean like if a mom has 21-hydroxylase antibodies and TP antibodies, doesn't mean they're going to transfer that to their kid. That doesn't happen. But there is increased risk for immune dysregulation and specifically fetal brain antibodies so far in the literature. Okay, next question. If all else fails, what's your opinion about using specific pharmaceuticals, in particular low-dose gabapentin or trazodone, to help patients sleep? I would use marijuana first, and then consider those, because marijuana, especially high cannabinoid content's not as addictive as these drugs. These drugs are very addictive, but if all else fails, maybe they have to do it. But you know, when you ask all else fails to different clinicians, you're going to get different levels of clinical competencies. So for someone, all else fails could be, I tried melatonin, it didn't work. For someone else, it could be, I checked everything. I checked their blood sugar. I checked their dysautonomia. I checked their sleep. I checked their circadian rhythm. I checked their diet. We rotated. Yeah, if you go through everything, and sometimes you just have to have people sleep. Some people that get significant brain injuries, this is the only way they can sleep is with some kind of medication. If they don't get it, they don't function. But this does create a vicious cycle that's hard to get out of. So you have to remember that this can help calm down some things, but it can also create further vicious cycles. And I don't have a good answer for this, but sometimes it has to be done. Any concerns that taking digestive enzymes will slow down endogenous production? Okay to use long term. Yeah, there's no problem using digestive enzymes long term. Digestive enzymes aren't like a hormone where you shut off the production of it. I mean, your body will make them if you're not taking them. If you take them all the time and you stop taking them, it's still going to work fine. There may be an adjustment period for a few days, but it's not a problem that we see. Next question. Do Th1 and Th2 vulnerabilities change with a cold or flu in an autoimmune person? Do Th1 and Th2? I don't know. Do Th1, Th2? Typically what you're going to find is when someone has a Th1 or Th2 response, their common cold infection or flu is going to flare them up or help them or have no change. If it flares them up, I would be if you see exercise data, if you see them flare them up or help them, you have to be very concerned anyways. But if it helps them, you might want to consider Th1, Th2 support after the response, because they may need some immune activation to calm down their autoimmunity. But there's lots of factors here between what the virus is doing or the infection is doing to their immune system that we still don't know. So I don't know. No matter what, I would be nervous every time looking at Th1, Th2 for immune flare-ups. And I really wanted to specifically show you the case with Th1, Th2 support, because we have an overzealous immune system and we're giving them support. But look what happened with that patient. The white blood cell count was 6.8 once we got his immune system supported, and his lymphocytes were 40 once we got his immune system supported. His NK cells, which we went up, and his total white blood cells went down. So it had an immune modulating effect by strengthening it. So it's not always that clear, so you have to kind of observe and do tests and see what happens. Okay, next question. Is it true that you can get false positive results on food sensitivity testing if there's intestinal permeability? Should you do an array 10, for example, until you've restored gut barrier integrity? Well, all food sensitivity isn't just caused by intestinal permeability, so it doesn't have to be intestinal permeability. You can get food intolerances and it has nothing to do with leaky gut. So food intolerances happen when you lose tolerance, and tolerance isn't all about leaky gut. So they're independent of each other. So you're not going to get false positive or testing if someone has intestinal permeability. They're just independent factors. Some people have greater degrees of food sensitivity with permeability, but you don't have to have, you have many people that have both. You'll have people that will do the food panels, like array 10, and have complete loss of all food proteins and react to half the test on there, and they have no leaky gut. And then if you even support them for leaky gut, it makes no difference. They have issues with Kupffer cells and dendritic cells and diversity of their microbiome and other things that are happening unrelated to leaky gut. Okay, so definitely don't consider all food sensitivity reactions only leaky gut, because that's not a factor. Okay, and then some people have severe reactions to lectins unrelated to leaky gut because they have agglutination issues, and those proteins are just sticking together, and they have that susceptibility. Some people have reactions to alkaloids from nightshades. Some people have gluten HLA-DQ genotypes and react to all cross-reactive foods unrelated to leaky gut. So it doesn't always have to be leaky gut. Okay. The other thing I also want to mention is some people have asked was, what do you do when a patient's on steroids or drugs? Can you do all the antibody testing? So what you want to do if a patient is on steroids or immune modulating drugs is run a total immunoglobulin count. Total immunoglobulin count you can order with any lab, even Cyrix runs it, and it measures total IgA, IgG, IgM. And if those levels are not depressed, even if a patient's on steroids or immune modulating drugs, you can get accurate results. But and you'll see that, you'll have some patients that are severely, acutely inflamed with autoimmunity and taking corticosteroids, and you run their total immunoglobulin count, and it's all high or it's all normal. So when you run your antibody test, you'll still see reactions because it's not totally suppressed to the point where you can't have positives. Okay? But if you see a total immunoglobulin count suppressed, you may get a lot of false negative tests. So be aware of that. And the total immunoglobulin count's not that expensive. It's just $60, something like that, to run. And it can save, like if you're going to have a patient spend several $100s on a Cyrix test before they go with that route, if they're especially on an immune suppressive, run a total immunoglobulin count first and then decide if it's even appropriate. Okay? Next question. Is there a way to determine if the chemicals in breast implants are causing chemical immune reactivity? It seems like symptoms don't start immediately after getting implants, but later. Yes. So immunosciences used to run a silicone antibody test. It was so nice to see that. And you would actually definitely see chemical immune reactivity with silicone with some of these peoples, and they stopped running the test. You know why? Because they kept getting dragged into court for all these lawsuits. And they're like, they decided not to run it. It's not worth it. But ultimately, it's all about chemical immune reactivity, and people do develop chemical immune reactivity. So, and there's lots of information and case reports and research on people having reactions to breast implants. I included some papers in your notes where they showed stents can turn on autoimmune disease. implants of all kinds, including breast and orthopedic implants, turn on autoimmune diseases. Those are well known. And what these implants also do is they cause biofilm development of microbes that then start to all cluster there. And those things then trigger on autoimmunity through pathogen levels. And sometimes with people that have breast implants, when they get them taken out, the whole implant's totally destroyed. Or people that get implants, they get osteopenia all over their implants from the inflammatory reaction that takes place with it. So there's definitely that possibility. And if that's the case, I mean, you want to remove it, but sometimes you can't remove certain implants with individuals. The only chance you have is to improve their immune tolerance. Okay. And these will take some time to get on. It's not immediate. It's rare that implants cause immediate reactions. They usually take place sometime to turn on. Okay. In addition to downregulating NF-kappa B and increasing glutathione, is there legitimacy using standard process thyrotropin product? I hate when I don't want to talk about brand names. This thyroid protomorphogens, supposedly protomorphogens bind with neutralizing thyroid antibodies. Is there anything on this in the literature? There's absolutely zero information in the literature. This is crazy talk from 1940s. I don't know how to say it any other way. And I don't really want to talk more about that. Okay. Is it possible to eat vegan, autoimmune paleo, and have enough protein? Yes. You can absolutely do an autoimmune paleo vegan diet and have enough protein if you know how to eat well on a vegan diet. That's never an issue. You just can't be a junk food vegan. So if you have quality proteins and so forth, you can absolutely do an autoimmune paleo diet and get enough protein. You mentioned that autoantibody titers do not necessarily correlate with symptoms. Is following titers every few months still helpful? If titers become negative, does this correlate with symptoms? Okay, so here's a really important concept. If you guys see antibody counts drop, okay, it could mean they're going into remission, or it could mean that their immune system is getting more depleted, specifically B cells, okay? So if you look at antibody count, it's always nice to look at the rest of the immune panel. If antibody counts levels go down and you see the white blood cell count also drop, you might have immune suppression making it look like they're getting better. You guys understand that? If immune cells drop, and specifically if you look at T and B cells, you can look at your CD19 are your B cells. If the CD19 levels drop and antibody counts drop, they're not going into remission, they're just getting more immune suppressed. Okay? The ideal scenario is you see antibody counts to drop and white blood cells get healthier. And CD19 cells get higher, healthier. That's the ideal response. So looking at antibodies alone without the rest of the immune panel cannot let you see the whole picture. And another key thing is you should always look at the symptoms and how a patient functions and feels. So whenever you see antibodies drop, look at the rest of the immune system to make sure it's not total immune exhaustion and suppression happening. Okay? Next question. If I do an Epstein-Barr viral panel and I see positive IgG but not IgM, does positive PCR confirm there's an active EBV infection? If you do an Epstein-Barr viral panel, you can look at the list of markers for viral capsid antigen and viral capsid EPV and see if you have that pattern. But if you did a PCR, I mean, that would be an ideal test to look for the infection. Next question. What are the differences between precision analytical Dutch dried urine hormone test versus standard serum hormone testing? Well, Dutch urine, well, you just forget the word Dutch, it doesn't really matter. Urine hormone testing is measuring hormones past hepatic and renal clearance, and serum is testing levels in the blood. The greatest reflection of what glands are actually producing is found with serum. When you're looking at urine, you're looking at hormones after they've been produced and after the kidneys and urine have cleared them out. So there's a risk you're not maybe actually looking at active levels. There have been some correlation studies done with urine testing and serum, and it's not consistent. Some studies have shown they are, some studies have shown they're not. So I would just assume it's too big of a jump. If you really want to look at what the gland is making, look at serum. Urine testing is obviously convenient, but there still isn't a lot of clear support that it's directly related to levels. And if someone has biotransformation clearance issues, then those levels are all going to be different than what they actually are in tissue and in serum. So that's the key factor. Okay, next question. Can you please comment on the data for glutamine supplementation and its effect on cancer? There's a lot of recent conflicting data. So there's some research showing that glutamine can raise some types of cancer, especially I believe lung cancer, that it could be contraindicated. Other than a couple of these studies being published, I don't have anything else to add. So I really don't have much to say on that, other than there are couple studies with lung cancer. These are people that have pre-existing lung cancer, and glutamine adds fuel that they think may be promoting the cancer. And for some cases like that, it could be contraindicated. But that doesn't mean people that have leaky gut or autoimmunity should avoid glutamine altogether. Okay? So we are done. I don't want to keep you guys waiting. I hope you guys found something useful this weekend for your practice. And thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.